All right, I think this is on. I think this is working. G'day to anybody who's going to tune in and have a listen to this. If you are jumping in, my name is Mitch Dyer. I'm very lucky to be over here in Eugene, in what I can also say is boiling hot Eugene, to cover the World Athletics Champs with Athletics Exclusive. So you would have seen a lot of the nonsense that I actually posted through the day about the race walk and being in the Oregon shop, picking up this $10 hat, doing all that sort of stuff. But I am here for another reason, that is to go over all the athletics. And day one was hectic as all hell, to be honest with you. We had like 17 Australians or something like that actually competing across the day, which is pretty underrated, to be honest. We've seen our biggest team. We've got 64 people out there throwing, jumping and doing all that sort of stuff, running and walking. But yeah, we had 17 of them go off today. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go across those 17, how they did progress, go a little bit deeper into the walk, and then also talk about a few other things and things that probably caught my eye on day one. I do want to say massive thanks again to Athletics Exclusive for giving me this opportunity to be over here and to dribble a lot of the shit that I do dribble. But let's get stuck straight into it. So this morning we had our men's high jump. They kicked off the campaign for Australia. Also, by the way, if you want to make a comment or whether or not you're my mates and you want to get stuck into me, whatever, drop a comment in here. I'll try and reply to them or talk to you. If you've got any questions about Oregon, you got any questions about me or anything that I do, please just chuck them in. I won't be offended at all. But anyway, men's high jump. Yeah, so we had two guys jump. Obviously, Brandon Stark couldn't compete. He had a little bit of a foot injury and he decided that he was going to just wait until Com Games, see whether or not he can defend his title, which probably does make sense. But Yoel Reith and Joel Baden were out there jumping for us this morning. They were the first cap off the rank, which is pretty hard, realistically. You're the first event at the World Champs. But yeah, shit, they did a really good job. Yoel Reith, so he was on his third attempt to clear the opening height of 217. He managed to get over it. I need to get a bit more excited. You're a little flat. What was it? I'm trying my best. It's been a long day, mate. And I don't want to make an excuse, right? And I don't want to come out here and make an excuse, but I did spend 5 days on a train across the country with some of the more rogue units you've ever seen in America. It was bizarre. But that was my doing, I suppose, so I can't really do it. But you know what? I'm going to ramp it up. You're right. I need to get a rocket up my ass and ramp it up. Yoel Reith couldn't quite clear it on the first two jumps, took him to the third, and he got flying from there. So he cleared 217, couldn't clear from there, so he was unfortunately out of the competition, but does come away from his first major championship. This is his first open major championship outside of Australia, so he did a phenomenal job. We looked at Joel Baden now. You know, he's obviously competed on a global scale before. He had a season best today, so he jumped 228 also on his final crack to make himself into the finals. He was our first one to make a final. He was in that top 12. I don't know whether anybody automatically cleared it, or actually automatically qualified. In fact, Tambiri, the defending Olympic champion, he only got through on his last attempt at 228 as well. So there must have been something in the waters or something in the track out there at Eugene this morning. But nevertheless, no one cares if you're through to the final, which Joel Baden is. We say a big, absolutely well done to the great man Joel Baden, a Victorian boy. It was fantastic. All right, women's hammer throw. We had Alex Hulley. She is a seasoned competitor now on the international scale. She competed here for World Juniors, and obviously she is absolutely smashing it out there. She threw a 68.83. She yeeted that thing. 68.83. She was only 2 meters away from qualifying for the final. She only just misses. She comes in 18th place, but a great effort from Alex Hulley. She was very close to her season's best there, just a little bit off her personal best. So honestly, a really, really good throw and a really good series of throws as well this morning. Now, moving on to what I'm going to call almost my child event now. I should be all across the race walk. I should. My dad was a race walker. My mum was a race walker. I come from a lineage of race walkers. I have the flexibility of a 90-year-old man, so there was no hope in goddamn hell that I was going to be a race walker. But I got my way out there and I watched the men's 20K, the women's 20K. So a lot of the nonsense you saw on this page was myself on the women's 20K. Unfortunately, I had some technical difficulties. I couldn't show you the men's 20K, but let's get stuck into this women's 20K because it was an absolute cracker. I just want to put this out there. You know, I don't work for World Athletics. I have no affiliation with World Athletics, but why you would put the women's and men's 20K walks at 110 and 310 in the afternoons in a summer climate when you are doing the men's and women's marathon at 6:15 in the morning to eliminate that sort of heat is beyond me. But it didn't matter because they all just grit their teeth and got on with it. And true Aussie spirit, we saw it out there on display today. Jemima Montag, 4th place, 1 hour 28:17. it was actually insane to watch this event. It's just crazy what they put their bodies through. So the Peruvian and our Chinese competitor, who ended up being 1 and 3, they went out like a bullet from the gun. They were just flying. It was all gas, no brakes for them. They were just not messing around, didn't want to wait for anybody to make a race. They were going to make it for themselves, and they took off pretty early. They sort of in the first 2 laps were already clear, and you sort of like watching the walk, you don't quite know if they're going to be able to catch it and make it up, and they just did enough. So the Peruvian and the Chinese competitor got away. Jemima sat in this pack, and she did a really good job at trying to break some wind and also keep herself out of trouble. But once it starts to get broken open, you have an option. You're either chasing up the road or you're going to bide your time. And Jemima decided to bide her time, and she did it so well in these last 2 laps. I'm standing there with some other Aussies, and a big shout out to one of the Aussies for getting me into the media part of the race. I was soon kicked out, and I tried to do my best to plead my case and say, but mate, I'm Australian, let me in, and apparently that doesn't mean anything here. But look, she did a fantastic job. She started to really hammer it in the last 2 laps. She bridged the gap from about 55 seconds down to 20 odd to finish in 4th. An incredible effort. So too was Beck Henderson. She came through for a 20th place. She had 1 hour 34:38 to her name. Just honestly crazy watching the race walk. If you've never watched it, go back and watch some of my stories, or even just go back and watch some of the highlights somewhere, because what they do is just phenomenal, and it's underrated, and we have such a pedigree in this event too as Australians. Obviously, we have Jaron Talent recently. We had Dane Bird-Smith for the men's. We had Jane Saville as well for the women's. We've had so many great walkers come through the process, but they don't seem to get the hype that they deserve. So I'm here to hype it up. Jemima Montag, rock star. Beck Henderson, rock star. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. I was in awe watching it from the sidelines, to be honest. I thought it was insane. We move on to the men's 20K walk, and this actually brought out a new rule. I'd never heard of this rule. Not, again, that I have my finger on the pulse of race walking, but Declan Tingay, Rydian Cowley, Kyle Swan. So Rydian Cowley's a veteran. He's been to multiple Olympics, multiple world champs. He just has this knack, and I don't know what it is, Rydian, if you're watching, or anybody that knows Rydian wants to comment and tell me what it is, but Rydian has this knack of just getting faster. Like, he was just picking up people like left, right, and centre. They were dropping like flies, and he was swatting them in the summer. It was phenomenal. He just kept going. He just had this cadence and this rhythm about him. He kept giving me these little nods. He had these sick as hell aviators on. He was the most casual looking dude out on the course. It was insane. He came through for 19th in 1 hour 23:37. Only 8 seconds ahead of him was Declan Tingay, and he comes through for 17th place. Now, again, this is the part of it that I actually don't understand. So if anybody knows this in the race walk, please tell me, because I've got no clue. The man got thrown in the sin bin. I didn't know there was a sin bin in the race walk, but with 2 laps to go, Declan, so the official walk, so for those who don't know, walking obviously has all these rules with contact and all this sort of stuff. You have to have contact on the ground, you have to have your legs straight underneath you, all of these sort of things. And if you're not doing that, you get warnings and you can officially be disqualified from the race. Now, that's as far as I knew it. So I'm on one side of the course, absolutely chewing the ear off some Peruvian woman next to me because I'm trying to bring the hype and bring the energy. And I look across, and there's Declan Tingay. He stepped off, and I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? I'm really trying hard not to swear here as well, by the way. So I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? Declan Tingay's done. I'm on me GoPro, and I'm going, geez, everyone, Declan Tingay's done. This is so unfortunate. I can't believe it. 2.5 minutes go by, and Declan Tingay is straight back on the course. And I'm thinking, what is going on? I couldn't understand it. So I spoke to my old man afterwards, who was a walker, and I was like, Dad, I'm either seeing things I am red. I've either got heat stroke, or Declan Tingay got thrown in a sin bin, NRL style, and managed to come back out. And he was like, oh yeah, now you get so many warnings, they'll put you in a sin bin, you get a time penalty. So Declan Tingay finishes 17th. But he was in 6th place with 2 laps to go. Now, he'd lost a little bit of contact towards the front of the field, which is fine, because those guys, we just saw the medal presentation on the TV, they were, again, like the women, all gas, no brakes. They weren't messing around. They just absolutely got after. The Japanese guys were just, I don't want to say floating, because you meant you have your feet on the ground, but they were on another level in that last lap. Like, they were just flying. So Declan comes through for 17th. The sin bin obviously cost him quite a few places in quite a few minutes, but that's okay. Kyle Swan as well finishes 33rd, 1 hour 28:43. It needs to be like, Kyle paced it beautifully. He did such a good job. He didn't really blow up. He just managed to keep this same rhythm and keep this same cadence, which was really quite impressive. And it was gnarly conditions out there. Like, again, it was 28 degrees. I can't understand the logic behind putting them out there in 28 degrees, but as a spectator and as somebody who was able to watch, I was so proud watching these Australians. Like, it was so cool to watch them go and do their thing, and Jemima to come fourth, and Declan to be in sixth and right in that mix for so long. Like, we need to get around these walkers more. I watched Declan in a 5K in Victoria, and my mind was blown. These guys are walking faster than the average man and woman can run. Dead set, dead ass, not a word of a lie. Like, they would have my ass covered. They would have a lot of people covered in the process of their walking. So it's not Kath and Cal Day night from the great Kath and Kim. Nah, this is some elite, heavy stuff, and what they do and how they do it and how they train needs to be talked about more and promoted more. So to Declan, to Ridian, to Kyle, to Jemima, to Beck, fantastic as a spectator, as someone covering it. I thought you guys were the shit. I absolutely loved it. Okay, moving on to the beginning of our afternoon session today. We had our men in the 3,000 metre steeple. Now, we haven't had two men in the 3,000 metre steeple, I think, for about 20 years. So for Ben Buckingham and Ed Trippus, both Olympians in Tokyo, they've come in. Ben was in the first heat. He's run an 8:29.15, a little bit of a tactical affair, but probably just got caught out the back a fraction. He finishes 27th overall. He was 9th in his heat, so he does miss going through to that final. And Ed Trippus, who was in the second heat, he came through for a 6th place, 8:23.83, and he's 4 seconds off his personal best, but he was 20th overall, so he was only 5 positions out of making that final. Put himself in with the fight, realistically. Like, he did everything he could to put himself in a position to make that final, but unfortunately just couldn't quite get that kick down towards the end. So really good effort from Ben and Ed as well. It's still hot, it's still warm here. A lot of this Australian team have come over the last couple of days. A lot of them are still in Seattle as well, I was learning today. So to be able to acclimatise and to be able to go out there and compete the way that they did on the track was fantastic. Our women's pole vault. So we had our qualifying rounds for the women's pole vault. Nina Kennedy took the piss. That's the easiest way I can explain this. She took the piss. 4 meters 50 on the first clearance through to that final. 4:35 got them in, but she didn't have to worry. She jumped that 4:50, knew that was enough, dusted the hand, said, "See you later, I'm all good," and went straight through to the final. So this was a phenomenal jump. No, actually, you cannot join the live video. This was a phenomenal jump from Nina. Good to see her make the final. Obviously, we do have that pedigree as well in the women's pole vault, so fantastic to see Nina carry on with that. It's going to be a cracking final. We saw the British athlete, actually one of the favourites, a medalist last year, snapped the pole in the qualifying, which was horrifying to see. She snapped her pole. She won't be able to get involved in the finals, unfortunately, but Nina Kennedy goes straight through with ease, and as I said, took the piss. That's the best way to describe it. That's the most Australian way I can describe it, and I'm really trying to tone back the Australian, because as you can imagine, a lot of Americans have no idea what in God's green earth I'm talking about. And I'm actually in a house with a couple of French people. One of them is Sasha Zoya's coach, and he has absolutely no idea what I'm saying half the time when I'm speaking to him, a former world champion as well, so I'm learning a lot from the great man. But trying to learn some French as well, but I'm not very cultured, as all my mates and anybody here will tell you. I'm probably one of the least lingual cultured blokes of all time. Good thing they sent me to a global meet, because that's exactly what you need to be. Okay, moving on. We saw this comment earlier. Actually, it came up in the comments. I just want to see who said it, because this is certainly worth talking about. Connor, exactly right. This is massive, and we do need to speak about this. The women's 1500. Hey, if you're a distance, I'm a distance man. If you're a distance fan, this should make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, because this is insane. It was a takeover. It was an Aussie takeover. It was our 3 women, Georgia Griffiths, Jess Hull, Lyndon Hall. Let me just write the script. Let me just give it to you right here, right now. None of them finished outside the top 3 in their heats, okay? So now they go through to the semi-finals. Georgia Griffith comes 3rd, goes straight through, 4:07.65. Jess Hull comes 2nd in heat 2, 4:04.68, straight through to those semi-finals. Lyndon Hall, 3rd in heat 3. What happens from that? Well, you bloody guessed it. She goes straight through to those semi-finals, 4:03.21. Our shit is hot in women's distance right now. Hot. And you got to keep in mind the whole Abby Caldwell fiasco, that she wasn't put in the team as well. So she'll be in the Commonwealth Games. But these 3 women, Georgia Griffith, Jess Hull, Lyndon Hall, so deserving of their spots in this team. And they put that on display today. They went out there and they all made a semi. I can't think of a time where the 3 women in Australia have made a semi-final for the 1500. Like, that's just That's just not an everyday occurrence. That's just not an everyday thing. So those three women go through, fantastic racing as well, just tactically beautiful in those heats. They just managed to find themselves in really comfortable, really easy positions, just work their way through. They were there for the kick and able to kick down. So Georgia Griffiths, Jess Hull, Lyndon Hall, all through to the semi-finals tomorrow. I will be there for that, so I'll be covering as much of that as I can. But it was just great to see those three girls able to run with the pace, with the sort of rhythm that comes with the heat. It's always a bit disjointed, and they just did it with ease. So they're three world-class competitors. They've been to multiple championships now, and that's exactly what we saw on display. Now, our final two competitors for the day were our two 100-metre men. Again, cannot think of the last time we had two men in the 100 at a World Championship. So it was great to see. We had a returning effort there from Rowan Browning. He famously made those semi-finals, and he made it with style as well in the Olympic Games. Do not forget. He came out in the heat number one. He finished fifth in his heat. So he's run 10.22 to finish fifth. He's 35th overall, so he won't progress through to those semi-finals. But it was probably the start that might have just cost Rowan, to be honest. He didn't quite get off with a flyer the way that he usually does. Like, he's a good finisher. Like, he's got a good bit of pace to finish off. But, yeah, he just couldn't quite get there. He comes through for 35th. A great effort nonetheless from Rowan. It was great to see him out there competing. And Jake Doran, he's been such a good story of the domestic circuit this year. He got his shot now at the international level. He comes through for 10.26. He comes 41st overall. He was 6th in his heat, but he had a quick heat. He really did. Like, he was with some really caliber athletes. And he got off to a really good start. It was maybe just the back end a little bit for Jake where he fell off a little bit, but falling off in a 100 metres is absolutely nothing. There's obviously not a lot in it. So it was a great effort there from Rowan Browning and Jake Doran. They did a phenomenal job to get through, not to get through to the next round, but to get through that 100 metres. And the pressure associated with World Champs, like, I've never been to a World Championships before, obviously. I've never competed. I've never been here as a spectator. I've never been here as a part of the media, or a loose part of the media, I should say. But just the pressure and the aura of Oregon as well as the World Champs, like, it is immense. Like, you know, watching some of these guys go through the warm-ups even at the walk today, like, they're shaking, they can't look at people, they're just so laser focused. So to get out there and perform in any capacity is phenomenal. And our Australians, if you didn't watch it today, did us so incredibly proud on day one. So that's a recap for Australia. I'll go through it quickly one more time. We had Yoel Reith. He cleared 2:17 but couldn't clear from there, so he was 27th. Joel Baden goes through to the final of the men's high jump with a 2:28 season's best. Alex Hulley threw her heart out and threw 68.83. Couldn't quite make it through to the final. Jemima Montag with a gutsy 4th place in the women's 20k walk. Beck Henderson with a 20th place in the women's 20k walk. Declan Tingay got thrown in the sin bin, going from 6th to 17th. That was a phenomenal effort. Rydian Cowley 19th and Kyle Swan 33rd in the 20k walk. Our men's steeplechasers were 27th and 20th overall. 27th belonged to Ben Buckingham, and so too Ed Trippus was 20th overall, 6th in the heat for him. Nina Kennedy goes through in the pole vault, straight through to the final. 450, had one jump and then went, that was enough for me. Ripped it. We had 3 women through to the semi-finals in the 1500. Georgia Griffith, Jess Hull and Lyndon Hall. And our men's 100-metre competitors, 10.22, 10.26 for both of them, 35th and 41st. They don't make it through to the final, but a phenomenal effort nonetheless. Now, it's not all about Australians. I do want to get into what I saw on the track as well for an international perspective. This will be brief. I'm not going to make these super long, just enough for you guys to recap it. These will also be available on a podcast. So if you do miss it or anybody's looking for that recap, it will be available every day as a podcast and will be released immediately after these lives. So let me get into this first. The women's waist walk. You wouldn't have, if there was a betting market for this on Ladbrokes, if it was on any sort of betting market, I really think the odds of this would have been extreme. Peru wins the first gold of the championships. So Kimberly Garcia-Leon, she breaks the national record in the 20k walk and claims the first gold of the championships. It was honestly sick to see. Like, she literally just commanded the race from the beginning. But I think that's the first Peruvian gold in the World Championships, and she did it in class. She did it with style. It was phenomenal. So congratulations to Kimberly Garcia-Leon. I'm going to do my best to pronounce this, but if I butcher it, I sincerely apologize. Toshikazu Yamaneshi defends his world title for Japan. So it's not too often that you see back-to-back men's 20K walk champions, but the Japanese national did it in style. Literally his last lap, he would have been, like, it's a 1 kilometer loop. I would have loved to have known what his last lap would have had to be in the 340s. Like, the man was on fire. He was absolutely cooking in that last lap. So it was phenomenal to see. The men's 100 meters, if you didn't bet on this man, you're probably kicking yourself right now, because if you watched it, and the commentators had this to say as well for the NBC here in America, you've never seen a cruiser qualifying in the men's 100. I'm talking Usain Bolt hasn't qualified this easy through to the next round of the 100. Fred Curley, the former 400-meter specialist, his 100-meter heat was off the charts. The man looked like he could have sipped a latte down the straight and still won it. Like, it was insane. 9.79. The cruisiest 9.79 you've ever seen on an athletics track. Fred Curley just breezes through to the semifinals. He is the bona fide favourite now for that men's 100 metres. You'd have to say that they had a 9.89 as well. The Americans, Trayvon Bromell, he was the second fastest qualifier. So the Americans on their home track, it's unsurprising that they're absolutely flying. So they did a fantastic job. And the last thing, Allison Felix, a farewell to one of the greats of athletics. Allison Felix has now hung up the spikes. This was it. This was her final season. She was in the mixed 4x400. The fairy tale hopeful of winning a gold in her last race unfortunately got dashed away from her by the Netherlands and also Costa Rica. They took the gold. But Allison Felix, a bronze medal to cap off her illustrious career. She had 7 Olympic golds, 3 Olympic silvers, 1 Olympic bronze, 19 world championship medals. It was 18, but 19 today, which is a world championship record as well, by the way. So Allison Felix, she hangs up the spikes. She is done for her career. Massive, massive love for Allison Felix. Like, what she has done for females in athletics and mums in athletics and just for athletics in general has been phenomenal. So Allison Felix, she hangs it up. A fantastic effort from her and a fantastic day one here at Oregon. It is insane being here. I've sort of gone around a lot of the facilities. I've filmed a lot of stuff which will be produced here on Athletics Exclusive, and it's crazy. This is a university town. This is the home of athletics in America, and it's just sane to be here at Tracktown, USA. I found a few things quite interesting. The housing for these athletes here I've found particularly quite interesting. You know, everybody is in the dorms. They're in student dorms here for housing. The only team that's not in student dorms happens to be the United States team. That's just what I've been hearing. I don't know that factually, but I find that quite interesting. I mean, if you're hosting it, I guess you give yourself the best benefit. But yeah, that is an interesting choice to me. But each to their own. Now, Preece Trail at Box Hill Gardens, mate. I'll tell you what, I went out for a run on Preece Trail this morning. It's something I've always wanted. I've been obsessed with Preece since a young fella, and I really wanted to go out there. And Izzy Thornton-Bott, who is actually the house that I'm living in at the moment, she's an Australian athlete at the University of Oregon. She took me out on Preece Trail, dropped my ass, absolutely floored me, and I only ran for 35 minutes, mate. I got cooked, Mitch. It's Preece Trails every day of the week. Like, this trail is phenomenal. Like, you can left, right, dead straight, triangular, you know, wherever you want to go, mate. This trail takes you everywhere. It's all this like beautiful cinder. It's perfect for your body. The rig was out. I mean, sloppy rig, but the rig was out. I'm not in Luke Matthews' fat camp. I am. His theory was always you just wear as many clothes as you can when you're trying to shed and you're trying to get fit. Mate, I threw that right out the window. I just put the rig out. I had my shocking Australian tattoo displayed on my chest, and it was beautiful. So I'm going Preece Trail every day of the week. Now, tomorrow we got a massive day of athletics as well. Clearly, I will get that timetable up, and we'll go through. I won't go through what Australians are in there, but day 2 is going to be a cracker. I'm there the full day. So our women's 3,000 meter heats, they're going to be on our women's high jump. Obviously, we got 2 competitors in that, which is going to be off its absolute chops. The women's 10,000 meter final, we got a few competitors in that as well. Our men's 400 meter hurdles, women's 100 meter heats, the men's semis. We don't have anybody in the men's 100 meter semis, but that's still going to be insane. The men's 100 meter final, I will live stream that tomorrow night from my seat. It is going to be like, you got to think we're in America, right? And we have 3 Americans potentially making the final. It's going to be off its nut. We got the men's long jump final. Oh, Henry Frayne. Sorry, I've missed one. Henry Frayne has made it through as well. Let me just get that up. Sorry about that, Henry. Just in case you are watching. Henry Frayne and Chris Matrevsky. we're in the men's long jump. So let's have a look here. So Henry Frayne jumps a 7.99. I think that was his first jump as well for Henry. So cool story for Henry. He actually left athletics last year. He went, I'm sort of done with this. He'd done his time at the Olympics. He's been such an amazing competitor. A global medalist, Henry Frayne. If you've never looked him up, he's been a phenomenal long jumper for Australia for a long time. He decided to come back. He had an itch that needed to be scratched. And you can see why. He's jumped 7.99 to qualify through in Group A, which is fantastic. 7.98 was the next qualifier. And then from there, we've had Chris Matrevsky. This is his first open major championship, Chris Matrevsky. A great story. He's managed by Sean Whipp, one of the great men in athletics as well. He's come out and jumped a 7.83, so not quite a PB for Chris Matrevsky. He's only 10 centimetres off qualifying as well, but a great series of rounds. He just couldn't quite get it going to his best, but that's fine. 7.83 is phenomenal jumping. He's got the Commonwealth Games coming up as well, so Chris Matrevsky now can just tunnel vision his way into the Commonwealth Games. But Henry Frayne, I'm very, very sorry that I did not mention that earlier. He has made it through to the final of the men's long jump, which will be kicking off tomorrow, which again I will be at, which I'm very excited for. It's going to be a great day of athletics tomorrow. As I said, we have many Australians competing, and of our 17 that competed today, they did a phenomenal job. So that's me for today. That is my time in Eugene. Thank you so much to Athletics Exclusive. I'll be doing this every day. As I mentioned, this will be available in podcast form. That will be released by Athletics Exclusive as well. Massive thanks to Super Boost as well. If you are looking for a new sports energy drink in Australia, I could not recommend Super Boost high enough. Many athletes have jumped on board. They have many athlete sponsors, so do look that up at Super Boost on Instagram. But thank you so much to everybody. If you have anything that you want me to cover, if you have anything you want to see, if you have anyone you want me to talk to, I do have interviews lined up. I couldn't quite get to the walkers today. They all had their families here and it was very beautiful, and I didn't want to jump in on that, and they're all flying out to Europe tomorrow. We'll have Ben Buckingham, we'll have a few people tomorrow, and I will be at the ATS. So thank you so much to all those who have tuned in. It's been beautiful here in Eugene, and I cannot wait to do this again tomorrow. So a big see you later from me. It's time for me to smash a pizza. See you later, everyone. And how do I end it?